One of the most common data visualization mistakes you've likely seen is what we call a spaghetti chart. These are line charts with too many categories, colors, and data points, all competing for attention, often leaving your audience confused. Now, in a separate video, I walk through techniques for cleaning up cluttered charts like this one. But in this tutorial, I want to show you how to build a panel chart as one effective alternative. A panel chart breaks down a crowded chart into multiple views using the same scale. Each panel shows a single category, making it easier to focus on trends and improving overall clarity. Let me show you how to build this in Excel. For this tutorial, we are using fictional data on a vaccine uptake over a 6-month period. Before we build the panel chart, it's really important to understand the structure of the data, because this structure is what makes the panel chart work. You'll notice that my column headers sit in the first row. And the second row, I have the name of the first region. Now, what's important here is that the next two columns are deliberately left blank. This is actually the beginning of how we form the panel chart. Below that, starting from the third row to the 8th row, I have my months and corresponding vaccine uptake values. After the Kijani Plains data, you'll notice that I've left 2 blank rows, and then I repeat the pattern for the next region. This same structure is followed consistently across all regions. Now, to create the panel chart, all I need to do is to highlight the data starting from the first blank row all the way to the last row that contains our final data point. With that selected, I'll go to Insert, choose a 2D line chart, and select a standard line chart. At this point, you can already see the panel chart starting to take shape. Each region is occupying its own visual space, but there's one important thing missing. Before I label anything, I just want to do a quick quality check to make sure that the lines align correctly with the months. So I'll click on the chart, add chart element, and turn on drop lines. This will help us confirm that each data point is aligned to the correct month within each panel. Now, let's bring in the region names. I'll right-click, select data, and then edit horizontal axis labels. At the moment, Excel is only using the months. This time around, I'll select the range that includes both the region names and the months, all the way down to the final month. Straight away, you can see that the regions have been slotted into the axis, but you'll notice the months are slightly misaligned. If I click on the chart, I can see that Excel skipped the first blank row in the value section. Now, to fix this, I'll simply drag the highlighted section so it extends correctly to the last month. And that immediately fixes the alignment. At this point, I'll remove the drop lines and the horizontal lines to declutter. We could stop right here. We already have a working panel chart, but I want to push this a bit further and add dividers to make the panel chart more distinct. What's happening here is that the x-axis contains text values in the form of months and region labels. What I need are vertical lines between each region to act as dividers. Doing this with a line chart could be a bit tricky, so we're going to use a scatter plot. So the divider series needs x values and y values. The y values are easy. I want these to sit at 0, so I can type in the zeros. The x values are a bit more complex because they need to sit in between each category. So to do this, I'll use the sequence formula. This helps me assign numeric positions to each row of my data. So my data runs from row number 2 to row number 32. So I only need 31 rows sitting in one column, starting from 1 and increasing by 1. Now, to find the midpoint between two regions, I take the average of the sequence values that sit next to the blank rows. So, for example, between Kijani Plains and Zambara Coast, the midpoint is 8.5. Between Zambara Coast and Nuru Highlands, that is 16.5. Now, I'll right-click the chart, select data, add new series, and call this divider, select my Y values, and hit OK. The chart might look a little strange at this point, but that's perfectly fine. Next, I'll change the chart type, select combo. So for the line chart, I will select lines, and for the divider, I will select a scatter plot. Now hit OK. Now I'll right click on these dots, select data, select the divider, edit, and now I'll bring in my X values by selecting these points and hitting OK. Now, to turn these points into dividers, I'll use error bars. So I'll select the error bars, go to more options. Now I'll use a fixed value for these, and I'll put that fixed value at 1. But what I quickly notice here is that there's one mistake that I've made. I need this to be on a secondary scatter plot, rather on a secondary axis. So in the axis pane, I will hard code these values. I'll head back to the error bars. At this point, I'm trying to get rid of the horizontal error bars because we do not need those. Now we can clean this up by removing these markers. So I'll head over to the format paint series, marker, and I'll select no marker. I can also click on the lines just to give them a more muted color so that they don't end up competing for attention. Now it's worth mentioning that the whole reason why I did select the fixed value for my error bars at 1 was to essentially match with the axis here, so that the lines run from 0 to 1 regardless of the magnitude of the values that change within the primary axis. So at this point, I can easily hide these by heading over to the label section, or rather the number section, and I'll change the category to custom, and in the format code I'll type in 3 semicolons to hide that. Alright, we are pretty much done. At this point, we could simply add a border around this and possibly take out the main border around the entire chart, just to give it a more clean look. I could add data labels, so I will click this a couple of times, add a data label, bring it below, and I could also get fancy by adding a marker just to emphasize this particular point. I'll give that 9, give it a border width of 2.25, and change the fill to white. And we could repeat this process for the rest of the chart, but at this point you do have an idea of how to create a panel chart. If you found this very helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for more tutorials.